The May 2nd, 2022 meeting of the Monroe County Legislative District Revision Commission will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Colby.
Here.
Mr. Colby is present. Chairwoman Lamar.
Here.
Chairwoman Lamar is present. Ms. Nicolay.
Here.
Ms. Nicolay is present. Ms. Ortiz.
Here.
Ms. Ortiz is present, and Ms. Roman.
Here.
Ms. Roman is present.
I would like to welcome those in attendance this evening and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you may know, this is the first of 6 public meetings for public input of the Redistricting Commission. The Commission will consider the public comments prior to releasing the proposed changes in the boundaries of the legislative districts. The redistricting plan will be adopted as local law, and the public will have the opportunity to comment on the proposed plan as part of the official public hearing and the adoption of the local law. I would also like to know that the law authorizing the new, I would also like for you to know that the law authorizing the new district boundaries is subject to a permissive referendum. I would also like to thank Commissioner Ortiz and Commissioner Nicolay for compiling all the recommendations for our vendor, ArcBridge. They have provided the Commission with a draft map for the county legislative districts. The draft map is available to view at monroecounty.redistricting.com, as well as in person at the 6 public input sessions. Is that .com or .gov?
It is .com.
It's .com, okay. And just a heads up, the computer on this side of the room, my right, your, well, probably your left, is an interactive. It's an interactive computer, so you'll be able to type in your address if you want to look up where your street is or what district your street will be in. Currently, I would now like the clerk to proceed with calling our public speakers forward to address the commission.
You'll have 3 minutes in which to address the commission.
I can do it.
It's
And
okay.
kindly conclude when the timer sounds. I had one speaker sign up. Our first speaker is Richard Dollinger. If there's anybody else that wishes to address the commission, just raise your hand and we'll bring you forward. And then just state your name when you come up. That helps me out.
Michael Slade, 12 Trailwood Circle, Rochester 14618. Actually, there's been quite some changes since the first map I looked at 9:30 this morning. I don't know if you looked online, but it was the most gerrymandered thing I've ever seen. And there's been quite some changes since then. I'm going to talk primarily about the process of the maps. It would be nice if on the map for the proposed district online had colors for the individual LDs. You do on the 2011 districts, but not on the proposed ones for 2022. It's a little hard to see. The boundaries that you have for towns, villages is in red and the other is in pink, something like that. They should be in different colors to make it easier to see. It would be more useful also if we could see the racial data also for the proposed districts, and also see all the file of all the tracts and blocks per legislative district, so that those of us who are GIS literate could create our own map and see if we can get the differences. I noticed that the population figures are buried, but they can be found. But there are also some problems right in my neighborhood, which is Trailwood Circle, which is split between Pittsford and Brighton. The LD line is separate from the town bordering line. Did you really mean to leave 1 or 2 houses that are in the Pittsford into the Brighton district And also, just north of us on Clover Hills, it separates improperly not along the town borders, but along the street borders. And you put half a dozen houses in Pittsford into a Brighton district rather than in the 10th district. I don't think you meant to do that. But you need to look where your actual LD lines vary from the town borders. That may be incorrect. It would also be useful to look at some of these individual districts. I understand the problem of needing to get within 2.5% of the average, which runs out to about 500 or so, plus or minus. But some of the borders are just really, really strange. It's nice to see that all of LD10 is finally in Pittsford and not split, but there's strange borders between 11 and 18. Those should be straightened out into more uniform lines rather than zigzags. Also, District 26 stretches from the airport to the lake. That's the most compact you can draw it within the numbers that you need. Doesn't make any sense. Also, several of the other districts, 1 and 7, you drag one all the way along the lake rather than making it north and south. And there's little bits that you could add for some of the other districts to be correct. There's also a couple of other oddities that I'd like to see changed. We still have district, what is it, the one that's south in Pittsford, 13, no, that's 5, stretches all the way into Parrington. They have no connection with all the southern towns. That could be changed by adjusting it into a little bit of Pittsford better and maybe making Pittsford over there. There are lots of these little changes for making things compact. I understand that you need to make the numbers right, but these things could be better done. They're good, they're better than they were in 2011, but there's still many changes that could be done, which you really have to explain. Like 14. I thought that was all Brighton, but no, that doesn't make sense with this arm sticking out into the middle of nowhere. And also, I'd like to see better looking maps that you can visualize the individual districts online. You have to blow them up, but you can't quite see around the lines. Arkbridge has it for 2011, but not for 2010, the separate districts on the map. Good, but could be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Hi, I'm Maxine Nanjos. And
You want to the podium?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you all for having this. I'm Maxine Nanjos, and actually I already spoke with Commissioner Nicolay about my concerns, but I thought I presented them to all of you. And if I can just get this,
Sure.
I'll just...
Can you spell your last name for me?
Manjos.
Just please speak up as loud as you can for the audio.
Okay, so, and I'll do this also. So, I live here.
You can put it on that easel if you want temporarily
Okay.
right
Oh,
behind.
yeah, okay.
No,
No, right
put it
behind
on
you.
the front of the other map.
Yep. Yep.
We have a live easel now.
Okay, so I live here, and I consider myself to live in a city neighborhood. This is city here, this is city here, but I'm out here kind of with, these are areas that I walk in, and I'm related to these people. And these are areas that I would drive or that I'm not even related to. They're kind of landing road. They're just not my city neighborhood. So I want my area to be more city. I relate to these people and to these people. So I want this little group to be part of this. I don't object also to being part of this if they need to be with me, but I don't want to be off by myself in a non-city area. So I want to be here, and if I need to be with someplace else, that's fine too. So I want to be in this little, maybe I should state it verbally, in this area to the west which is a little panhandle. I want, and that has Cobb's Hill prominently noted. I want it to be much more a part of a city neighborhood. If it's also a part of a suburban neighborhood, that's fine, but I want more city people with me. Is that pretty clear? Okay. Well, thank you all. This is really great to have this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Do we have anyone else who would like to speak?
My name is Barbara Grosh. Did you want addresses? No. Okay. And I'm president of the League of Women Voters, so I'm more or less reflecting some thoughts we've been having. I've been feeling pretty good about how this commission's been working up till now, and suddenly I'm not very happy. So I checked the maps on Friday afternoon, I checked the maps on Sunday, there were no maps. I started checking this morning, and they changed hour by hour and minute by minute as to what it looked like and what I could find and what was available. I had medical appointments this afternoon, so I could not spend the whole day. So I'm going to say some things that I think I see, and they could be wrong. And I'm only bothering to tell you that because I want you to know that this is not good enough information to the public. The public has been not given enough access to the maps in enough time to come here and give you really well-informed feedback. So the first thing I did when I pulled them up was to look at some of the easy stuff that we've been harping on for months, like the division of villages. So I looked at East Rochester because I was going to be here today, so that was a good place to start. And my first impression was it was still divided. Well, that's because the colors respond to the old ones. It's actually pretty difficult to read these maps. And I've been studying maps and making maps since the middle of last year. And I found that I couldn't read these maps. And so that's a problem. And I'm happy to see that you did, in fact, unite East Rochester. You did, in fact, unite Brockport. Yay, you, go team. That was good. I appreciate that. I'm very interested in the demographics of the different districts, and I couldn't find the information that I wanted. It was really hard to find even the population data. I did eventually figure out how to find that, but that's really confusing. You click it, you get the pop-up. Sometimes it's on the first panel, sometimes it's on the second panel. The titles are so long that sometimes you have to scroll to read what the district number is. So it's just not where it should be in terms of accessibility. So once I looked at the simple things, I looked at some other simple things, like my favorite whipping boy of District 26, and I saw, gosh, it's gotten worse rather than better. It's even longer and skinnier and still cuts into the city and two towns. And so everything we've been saying seems to be falling on deaf ears as far as using natural boundaries. Okay, so the river, there was a lot of complaints about neighborhoods on the east side of the river being divided up. I think those are probably somewhat better now. I don't live there, so I don't know the details, but it's got the river going down the middle of that district, and I can't really understand why that was necessary. Rivers are natural districts. The people do not walk across the river very much. They don't know each other. Those would be natural boundaries. The city boundary is a natural boundary, as we heard from Ms. Manjos. There's a lot of cutting across the city boundary, and people don't necessarily feel simpatico with the people in the suburbs that they're being grouped with. So then I noticed that we have another district which had its problems before, but looks even worse, and that's District 14. I see we have legislator Hugh Smith here. I mean, 14's been long and crazy and cut across several boundaries before, and now it's longer. I measured it. It's, I think it's 9 miles from one end to the other, whereas it gets down to maybe half a mile, a few blocks wide in several areas. It turns a corner. It's kinky. That's a mathematical term, by the way. That's for non-convex regions. It's kinky, and you're not supposed to be having kinky districts. That's like immediately suspicious. So those are my initial comments, and like I said, I could be wrong on some of them. I have spent a couple of hours reading these maps and thinking, oh no, they didn't. Oh no, they didn't. And like, it's just too much to process in the time that we've been given, and the presentation is not as clear as it could be. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Dave Gerritsen. I live in Greece. Didn't plan to speak, so I'm off the cuff a little bit here. Plan to come to some of the other sessions, so I think I'll come prepared with some remarks about some of the actual district lines. Today, I'd just like to take a couple minutes and give you guys a little bit of a report card. I've been at all of your meetings so far. So I'm going to give you some things you're flunking on and some things you're doing great on. We're streaming today. Hey, great. Thank you. Bravo. I appreciate it. You're listening. No map until only a few hours before the first session. Come on, guys. Come on. And when you go on, some of the other speakers mentioned, it's really difficult to look at those maps online the way they're formatted right now. You've got to fuss around with the layers. The lines are hard to see. You click on a map, a pop-up comes up which prevents you from actually looking at the map you've just highlighted. Come on, guys. Come on. These are the things that should have been available last week, worked out by the end of the week, so people could come here prepared today and not have to necessarily look at these maps are excellent. I can look at these and understand them. Let's see what else. We're having a session on Thursday, right? What's the deal with that? You haven't told us anything. It's supposed to be a virtual session, or the public will be in the chamber with you. If it's a virtual session, what's the format for the public to provide comments? So far, this body, your position has been, people can email us comments, and it's none of the public's business, whatever people send us. We're going to share it among the 5 of us, and the rest of you, who cares? So what's it going to be on Thursday? Are we going to have public comments emailed? Are we going to have people in the chamber? That's 2 days from now. Come on, guys. What's the story? That's another F. So some good, some bad. I'll come back today or the day after, tell you some thoughts on some of the districts. Some things I like, some I don't, for whatever that's worth. Guys, you're on the right track, but come on. This is public engagement. I feel like we're really preferring that the public not be engaged. Okay? See you tomorrow.
Anybody else? Legislator Vance?
Welcome to East Rochester.
You got it. Could have gone the other way.
I grew up a few yards from here, and there are 12 people in our family, and when we had to go anywhere, we had to figure out where we were going to sit in the car. And mom and dad in the front, 2 kids between them, and 4 kids in the middle. Only 2 got a window seat. Then you put everything in the back, and the other 4 kids crawled and lied on top. I was one of the kids lying on top of the stuff in the back. So, look, it ain't easy. There were many a time when mom and dad said, we're not going. Went back in the house, dad smoked a cigarette, and the whole thing was over. So, since this process began, in fact, I am a legislator, but I haven't lobbied. I'm not going to lobby. I'm going to trust you to do your best job. And If people don't like the districts they're in, don't run. We just got to do the best we can, get this car on the road. We're doing a better job than we did the last time. And I know this is the first day. There'll be other days. And I think that Michael's points, David's points, everybody's points are certain. I appreciate you coming home to East Rochester listening. And I know you'll take it all into consideration. But in the end, if everybody's a little bit unhappy, it's my experience. This was the rule in our family. If everybody's a little bit unhappy, we did really well. And, I know that there are some things like keeping villages together, et cetera. If I look at different districts, people will look at them and they'll say, and especially 26, it's the one district, I just look at it and go, I don't know. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. But when you look at the districts, like out here in this part of the county, I think you've improved. You've improved the situation in terms of the town of Penfield. My little area here that I know best. I rode my bicycle around. The village of East Rochester, the town of Pittsford, the town of Parenton. Yes, there is that little piece of the town of Parenton that slips into 5. But the school districts are a community of interest.
And those don't follow town law.
Thank you, legislator. And, it's funny.
They're screwier than these districts, I think.
Everybody says, how come that neighborhood over there across from Nazareth is in the East Rochester School District? Well, that's because the school district, the town, the whole area was created by farms. There was a farm field that ended up being in the East Rochester School District. So, everybody, I think that you have a good process. You're doing how many meetings?
6.
And I think you're overpaid. I believe you're paid 0. I think, like I used to go to school board meetings and listen to people say to the school board members, not the city, they get paid. You guys are overpaid, and none of them is paid. So I think we have some brilliant people like David who understands this better than I do. And I appreciate you listening to everybody. And thanks for coming to East Rochester. And I believe that you're going to do the best you can for our community. And whatever happens in my district, it's not my district, by the way. And by the way, not one of the current legislators will be serving 8 years from now. These districts don't belong to anybody. In fact, how could I possibly have used the possessive pronoun? I don't have a district. It belongs to the taxpayers and belongs to the voters. So thanks for coming to East Rochester, the greatest little village in the world.
Anyone else that wants to speak?
Just wonder if you could clarify whether the meeting on Thursday is a hybrid meeting or
Yes, it is. People are allowed to come in person. There's going to be Zoom available, which went out today to the public, to the media.
So the chambers will be open?
Yes, the chambers will be open.
And that information is on the website as well?
Correct.
because it doesn't say that on the agenda here. It just says that it's Zoom.
Yeah.
So that language needs to change.
Will do.
Are there any other comments? There being none, this concludes the public hearing. I would like to thank everyone for their participation in the redistricting process. And on behalf of the members of the commission this evening, I would also like to thank East Rochester Town Hall for their hospitality. The next meeting for public input is scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022, at the Trent and Pamela Jackson Rec Center at 485 North Clinton Avenue, Rochester, New York, at 7 p.m. Thank you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.